Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. Tram, we are back in DKR this week after a Big 12 opening win against the Baylor Bears in Waco, Texas. Good riddance to Baylor. I'm glad we're over and through that. Had our post game recap if you guys want to go check that out after the game. But here we are now, getting ready for our Big 12 season home opener against the Kansas Jayhawks. Kansas team that is ranked now 24th in the country, also 4-0. Very formidable offense. We knew that coming in, Tran, with the amount of guys that were preseason Big 12 this year. High expectations for Coach Lance's team, and they've been delivering so far. So we're going to break down the game and just some of our thoughts and opinions on this team so far. But Tran, what's going on, man? How you doing?
It's going pretty good. I'm happy to be 4-0. These next two games are probably the most important on the schedule for right now. So I'm ready to kick off against Kansas, man. It's the craziest thing is that just ask us 2 years ago, even though Kansas beat us 2 years ago, were we sweating the Kansas game? No. Now a bunch of all the Texas fans I talk about, they're like, I'm more worried about Kansas than I am OU. I'm like, that's a little bit of a ridiculous thing to say or to think about, but yeah, this team's got some players on there. They do.
It's more of a compliment to the Kansas program.
They're doing
And
great with it.
yeah, how quickly they've built up that crew. And I mean, we talked about this last year when we were prepping for Kansas before the game. We actually spanked them, and Jonathan Brooks was one of the people that got off in that game late last season. But I remember Jalen Daniels was coming back from injury. We weren't sure if we were going to see him or Jason Bean, and they were just such a fun team. And you still see that on tape when you watch them, whether it's the BYU game or the Nevada game. They're fun. They're fun to watch on offense. They run a lot of different stuff. They run option. They'll run stuff with veer concepts. They'll have these crossing routes and stuff, and they're able to just scheme guys open. And then on top of that, Jalen Daniels is able to create to throw, right? Extend plays. He will extend, but he's also pretty creative in how he navigates in and out of the pocket,
Mm-hmm.
outside of traffic, and finding his guys or running and just being an overall good. He's a really good college quarterback, a really good decision maker, and I think it's going to be a fun challenge against our defense. Because we were talking about this, our defense has been lights out this year. We're only allowing the 12 and a half points per game, 2.7 yards per rush. I mean, if you look at our run stats, both defense against the run and defense against the pass, it's impressive. And that doesn't even, I haven't even mentioned pressure rates or turnovers or anything like that. Just our ability to really be dominant this year. And this is a great test for them, Tran. Really,
Yeah,
really great test for this defense.
absolutely a great test. Like you said, Daniels, he's a mobile quarterback, but like you said, I feel like he has a. If we're comparing him to quarterbacks that we've already faced, I'd say the closest would be Jalen Milroe. However, he doesn't have the speed that Jalen Milroe has, but I do think he has a better arm than Jalen Milroe at this point. So it's another
Accuracy wise.
yes, accuracy rise.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I should clarify that because I do think Jalen Milroe has a cannon. He just from an accuracy standpoint, right now he's not there yet. But like you said, he can keep plays going and keep his eyes down the field and still hit people, especially with the concepts that it's not just one cookie cutter concept that the offensive set that they're going to be playing us against. So we got to be on our toes. I mean, I do think this is a great test for us going into OU weekend. This team should have our attention. They're a top 25 team coming into DKR. And then the last time they were here, they beat us. So,
Period.
yeah, period. That's it. They should have our attention. There should be no, there's a letdown or anything like that. No, he should be coming here to try to shut them out. But this team is a very good team.
Many of um, many of the players that were there for that night against Kansas when we lost were guys that played a lot. Right, Jalen. I distinctly remember Jalen Ford playing in that game. Just so many of our guys that are staples today. Christian Jones,
Sweat.
T. Sweat. Right,
Yeah.
there's a lot of guys that are starting for us right now on the number 3 team in the country. Big battle of Texas that caught an L to this Kansas team 2 years ago. And so the growth that also kind of speaks to Steve Sarkisian and how he's developed these guys, because that was year one with them and where they are now. And the fact that so much of this roster that came through Tom Herman and has just really blossomed under this coach. I haven't said this enough. I appreciate the fact that he eliminated faction mentality at Texas. It really used to be like, starting from when Mac got let go, right? It
Mm-hmm.
was always Mac guys, Charlie guys, Tom guys, and when Sark came here, the way that he embraced guys, even in that 2021 season, you guys see Tope here all the time. Guys that had been on Tom Herman's staff, even going back to Charlie Strong staff, said, if you want to play, if you're passionate about football and you guys want to learn and you're coachable, I will accept you. You're a Sark guy now.
Yeah.
You play for Texas. You're a
You're a
Texas
Texas
guy.
guy. Yep.
You're a Texas guy now. And I feel like since then, when people make plays for Texas, I don't see us sitting here like, oh, that's one of Tom's guys, or that's one of so and so's guys. Like it's like, nah, they've been coached and mentored and developed by Steve Sarkisian and this coaching staff, regardless of how long they've been here.
Yeah.
If you've played here, you've been developed here. And I think that's a great positive, very two positive stories coming together this weekend. Two of the better teams of the Big 12. Really, really excited to see how this thing plays out, Tran. By the way, those of you who are in the stadium, you may be already have some merch, Last Stand hats. Guys, check out laststandhats.com/fanatic or use that promo code Fanatic10, 10% off at checkout. New merch on the way. I know these hats are coming. Some of you guys told me these hats are not on there yet. I know they're coming. I know, and there's some other ones on there. There's also some really, really, really good high-end golf polos on there, or polos in general that you want to wear. Different colleges, different schools. There's more schools that are coming on being licensed. So if you're here just kind of getting a sneak peek and you're not necessarily a Texas fan, please still check out the website. There could be merch on there for you. So check out laststandhats.com/fanatic, hit Fanatic10 promo code. Hopefully 9 minutes in, you guys can tell that Trent and I really like this football team, because I feel like some of the comments recently have been that we are too harsh or too critical about certain things or nitpicking too many things. And I just want to make it well known, I'm enjoying the hell out of this season, me personally. This has been fun as hell. This is the least amount of stress I've had one full month into a season, because 4 games in. So
So
I mean, we're a third of the way through. I'm having a great time, y'all, but we still have to audit the team game by game.
yeah,
And there's
seriously.
always things to work on.
Seriously, so me, if things are going well, I see an opportunity, and I don't want to squander that opportunity because of letdown. So that's why I want people to be held accountable, regardless of if we're winning or not. Doesn't mean I'm not happy. I am absolutely ecstatic that Texas keeps on winning, and it's so funny. Is like even my daughter was saying that her teacher was saying that your dad must be happy. Your dad must be happy every single week that they win. And so, I mean, I'm extremely happy. But like I said, college football is open this year. The college football landscape is open, and we have a path. If we can, we right now control our own destiny. We win,
Amen.
we're in. We win, we're in. So, and that's why it's so important to hold ourselves to those high standards. If we feel like we're one of those teams that should be there.
It's there's no juggernauts this year. I mean, we haven't said it yet because we haven't shown to be a juggernaut week over week,
Mm-hmm.
but we have as good a case as anybody to say we're the best team in the country or have the best resume. But to Trent's point, there's no 2019 LSU this year.
Mm-mm.
You know, one of those historic teams where you knew early in the season, like, oh yeah, they're at least going to run their regular season table. Like no one's going to beat them, right? There's when you watch Florida State the last couple weeks, right? Just taking a peek around the country at the vulnerability of teams. Georgia started really slow in games. Ohio State and Notre Dame, although epic ending, very flawed teams, right? Like there's they're not perfect. Like there's things where I'm like, yeah, we could line up against them and blah blah blah. The biggest thing we're trying to do, and I've seen other people in the Texas space speak on it, so I know we're not the only ones that see it. The biggest thing that we want to see as fans, I should say it that way, is the team challenging themselves in performance week over week against their own standards,
Mm-hmm.
against their own goals and what they're trying to accomplish. Texas' biggest opponent is still Texas. No disrespect to Kansas. No disrespect to Kansas. They're going to give us some different looks. We're going to have to adjust in this game. But at the end of the day, if we're locked in the way we were locked in against Kansas last year, a team that had some that was showing some stuff, we beat that. Like that's a team we went and shut them down. Okay, when they're locked in and they're like, all right, we're here to fly around, we're here to play football, and so that's got to be the standard and mentality of this Texas team. Now, in terms of just what are some of the components look like? I mean, I will say this: leaving the Baylor game, Jonathan Brooks, he is putting together a very quiet, just stellar season. Especially, considering he technically wasn't the starter to start the season. You got a freshman phenom in front of you. You're now navigating injuries with Cedric Baxter, who is back, but they're kind of working him slowly along now. And then, you have your own injuries that you're dealing with before the season started with your groin. You're replacing Bijan Robinson and Roshan.
Roshan, yeah,
And the last 2 weeks, Jonathan Brooks has been one of the best players on our football team. And it's been remarkable to see his efforts, not just in the run game, but also in the pass game, Tran. Really impressed by number 24 on our team.
I agree. I mean, I think you said it best. Quietly, he's having a great season. He's on pace for 1,000 yards. I think he's close to 400. He's a little bit under 400 yards.
379 right now.
I don't know what he rushed for last year, but I know Bijan rushed for almost 200 against them, or was it over 200? And he busted out another 100 himself in the fourth quarter. It seemed like so. He's going to have his opportunities, honestly, to keep this positive momentum going for this year. Um, I want to see us lean on him. I do want to see us lean on him and win in the trenches. And I'm expecting a big game from him.
I think Texas's personality is, and kind of looking back at the Baylor game again, they just did a lot of good stuff out of 12 personnel.
Mm-hmm.
And some good things started to come along out of 11. All right, I'm nobody's saying we're going to be one dimensional. And I think we saw what we did against Bama in 21 personnel. Right, like we've had a lot of success all over, but to kind of get us going and to be even more efficient, and to get Quinn comfortable right off the bat, running the football, play action the whole bit. It seems like 12 personnel is kind of where we kind of start to make our butter our bread, and then we kind of evolve from there as the game goes. So, um, just the involvement in the pass game of the tight ends too. Like in terms of Quinn's comfort, Gunnar Helm has
Yeah.
gotten more involved. Jatavian Sanders catching passes. They've been cycling in. A lot of people are like, oh, who's number 80? That's Malik Agbo, who's another offensive lineman on this team that was recently recruited just a couple years ago, right? Who's now taken over that swing tackle position that Andre Carrick formerly occupied, right? And so and that's actually the pass set where it seems like Quinn is just really comfortable in the pocket and sets his feet, and he's more aggressive throwing downfield. So as we progress, I do want to see this offense continue to evolve. I mean, OU, we don't need to. We're not there yet, but as we ramp into a very emotional game, and we want to make sure that our offense is trending in the right direction. I'll put it that way. And so if it seems like it's a slower burn this season. And again, some of that is because of injuries and some of the things that they've had to navigate and trip over. But overall, Quinn Ewers, it's the best thing we can say about him, Tran. No turnovers.
Yeah, he's been taking care of the ball.
He's taking care of the football.
There's been a little luck added to that. So I hope that they're watching those negative plays that probably should have been picked off, so they can learn from it. A couple of times it was through the screen game or just a quick out game where he just read the cornerback wrong. So hopefully he's learning from those mistakes, and he's getting, because no team has made us paid for those. And he continues to take care of the ball. I mean, it's great. I mean, what's our turnover differential? It's pretty high, right? Isn't it like almost six plus six or something like that? It might have gone down because the punt, the muff punts, those go against us, right? As turnovers.
Yeah, we had that those two. We're +1.
+1.
We're +1 right now. But yeah, because and there was one game I don't think we had a takeaway.
Yeah.
Uh,
Rice, we
so
didn't have a takeaway.
no, Rice we had 3.
Did we really?
What game was it that we didn't have it? Was it? I'll have to go back and look at that because Jalen Ford had a pick last week. No, I think we've had a takeaway in every game actually.
Okay.
Bug had the Wyoming pick. No, I said correctly. We've had a takeover every game.
We had two.
But
We had 2 picks in the Wyoming game because Jade had 1 too.
So the thing is, the opportunities are limited in terms of us having self-inflicted wounds. That's the point I'm getting at. Quinn, 12 touchdowns, no turnovers, huge. So keeping that momentum there. I think the receivers, getting them a little bit more acclimated and keeping some people's mouths fed and happy. We have a better chance of doing that if we play more snaps, but I think this is going to be a fun game for our offense to try to hit that 40-point mark this week. Kansas has some good secondary guys, like Kobe Bryant and the other brother last week that also had a pick six, and they're opportunistic, and some of these guys are also all Big 12 preseason. But at the end of the day, and Joel Klatt said this week, and I thought he was 100% right. Texas trenches hasn't been like this since the mid 2000s. And when you can control trench games, your ability to have letdowns decreases in terms of losing games, because that is always going to be a constant, how you control the game in the trenches. And when Joel was saying was like, hey, when you're trying to be sharp throwing the ball and through your athletes and through skill positions, you're going to have weeks where you're just off. There's going to be somebody, and if you can't fall back on trench play, you're screwed. So the way Texas is navigating now, and it's funny because he even mentioned the Colt McCoy years in the late 2000s, and he even said Colt McCoy covered up a lot because Texas trenches were even falling off then, but
Yep.
they were winning games because he was so just dynamic with his skill position guys. But '04, '05, those years of Texas, they were good up front. They could control the games up front. And so I think that's a dynamic here where I'm looking at Texas offense and saying, as good as Kansas is offensively, there's no reason why you guys should be able to do whatever the hell you want to do in DKR on Saturday
Yeah.
offensively and hit that 40-point mark, continue to have that momentum going and playing your best offensive football heading into Red River next week. For the defense, what goals do we have for the defense, Tran, as you look at this game?
What goals do I have for them? What goals do I
Mhm.
want them to do? I mean, that's two different questions. So want them to do is I still want them to play high level football. Like you said, they're gonna have different crossing routes. They're gonna try to push it deep down. So I want to see my coverage in the secondary. A little bit more polished than what I've seen for the first 3 weeks. 4 weeks, sorry. I apologize, but that's the main weakness that I see on our defensive unit. I want to see the defensive line continue to own the line of scrimmage. There's certain key metrics that you showed me beforehand that Kansas is very impressive at. I think they're 100% in red zone efficiency, and we're one of the best in the nation at red zone defense. So I want to see that. They're one of the top teams in the nation at third down offense, like conversion rate, and we're one of the best third down defense.
Defensive.
Yeah, I'm interested to see those two categories right there. I just don't want I don't want to have the thought of a bend or break mentality this time, because that you could you play with fire, you'll get burnt a couple times. I don't want to do that. I want to see us win on first and second down and have them in third and longs, and make them check it down or something like that. This is the first defense, like going back to the trenches that you're talking about. This is the first time in a long time from a defensive line perspective that we're getting constant pressure just by rushing 3 or 4. We don't have to bring those extra guys like we were having to do for the past 6 years, 7 years, whatever it was. And I want to continue to see us dominate, man. The defensive line, they're playing with such confidence that I think once they're back here in DKR, I mean, if they're not using Kansas being here last year, 2 years ago, and beating us as motivation, I don't know what the coaches are doing, but they should come out on fire and ready to go after Daniels.
This year so far, we have, I think, let me count this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different guys that have a sack on the Texas defense through our first 4 games. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 guys that have multiple sacks. So to your point about that pressure rate, and all these guys play there's we're not talking about Janae Barron getting a whole bunch of sacks. We're talking about everybody has a DE or a DL next to their name, or LB. That's what you want. Your front guys getting active and after the quarterback and being disruptive. And that kind of goes in alignment with the stat that came out this week about Jalen Ford being the only player on the Texas defense that's played 75% plus snaps of the year so far. It's how deep we are, and that rotation. And I think as good as this Kansas Jayhawk offense is, they haven't seen a defense like ours, and our rotation will wear on them even more so than it did last year. As disruptive as we were in last year's game, and creativity and what PK saw, we're even sounder group. We're better technically in coverage. We're better in our communication. We're better finishing. So I want to see those things continue that we've seen over a consistent basis in the 4 games there. Out of respect to Kansas, though, I do think that they will score some points in this game. I don't think it's going to be a shutout or anything like that. But if we're saying our offense should be over 40 this week, I'll make that margin for the defense between 17 and 21 points, right? 17, 20, even 24 points. As long as you're playing good football and we're still good on third down, I think Kansas will probably get theirs at times in this game just because of how – I mean, they're 62% Kansas is on third down conversion rate as an offense. That's number one in the nation. So there's going to be some challenges here. But out of respect to them, I'll give them a certain margin of points. But I just think that this Texas team, they just seem mentally ready to me. They're just on their stuff, and they may not always look dominant for 4 quarters, but they understand now. Like, all right, we need to win the game, right? Like we need to stop messing around. Like this is time for us, and we know how to finish the game. We can say that for all 4 games they have finished the game. So I'm ready. If you want to, I'm ready to give my prediction.
Real quick, just to put in perspective. You said 9 sacks. 9 different players have registered a sack through 4 games. Is that what you said?
Correct.
Last season, it was 12 total players registered a half a sack or more. So, I mean, there's 2 players that had a half a sack, which, I mean, I'll count it. But that just shows what type of dogs we have there going after the quarterback now this year. So, yeah, I just wanted to – sorry, I just looked that up, and I just wanted to see how it was comparative-wise. My prediction, I actually don't think we're going to get to 40 because I do think we're going to run the ball a lot and keep the clock moving. But I'm going to say we're going to stay around that 38 mark. So I'll say 38 to 24.
38-24 Texas. So you have Kansas covering, it sounds like, because what was the spread? 14.5?
I think it's 14.5, yep.
Did it go up? I think it opened at 14.5. Let's see what it's at now. It's now at 16.5. The over-under on points, Trant, by the way, 61. So you would be at what does that put you at, 62?
Yeah.
So you'd be over on points. Yep. You have Kansas covering if it was 14.5. Interesting. I'm going to go – I think we're getting over 40 this week. I'm going to go 45-21 Texas.
If we get to 45, I will feel very comfortable. I'll be honest with you, because that's how much I trust this defense. I don't think this defense is gonna allow teams to put up 45 on them or 40. I just don't.
Well, if you're Kansas, you want to shoot out, right? You want to reintroduce the doubt that crept into DKR.
Yeah.
Back in 2021, right? And so, and you want, because execution wise, you know what you have if you're Kansas, but if you're that defense, you're like, hey, how do we turn Quinn over? How do we bother Quinn? How do we make him uncomfortable? So big game ahead for our offensive line. They should be up for the challenge against a Kansas front that's underrated, I would say, but it's not the most. I mean, after we face Bama, there's really no excuse as to why this line shouldn't be dominant week over week, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, like, y'all want to talk about Bama's offense, whatever. But I saw Dallas Turner and Chris Braswell have Jackson Dart in pure hell last week. Okay,
they scored 7
and that was
points.
an Ole Miss team.
Ole Miss scored 7 points, right?
Well, they had 10, I think.
10.
I think
Oh,
they
I'm
kicked.
sorry. The last I saw was that it was late in the fourth, and they're stuck at 7 points.
I
So,
think it was like 24-10 or something like that. But
like you said, I mean, if they're holding supposedly one of the high potent offenses in the SEC to 10 points, I mean, come on. You already faced a really, really tough defensive front. I mean, come on. No excuse, like you said.
no, it's maintaining focus and putting out good tape and playing your best brand of football. That's what all this is about.
And fans, show out too. Show out. People do get pumped up playing against the live crowd. They really do. Like it's the craziest thing.
Well, I think DKR. I mean, we want to talk about things that have changed in the last 2 years. I think the fan energy is going to be. I mean, getting a Texas ticket is hard right now,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I'm like, damn, how am I going to go to the OU game? Uh,
Yeah, I'm
If
sorry
anybody
about
has
that
a
again.
hookup out there,
I'm
let
sorry.
me know. The last few years, it's been
Easy.
pretty easy from a transaction standpoint. This year, it's like, man, like $500, $600, $700 for one ticket on the secondary market. So if anybody has a plug or connect, let me know. But
Telling you.
like even my own self, I'm like, damn, how am I gonna get to this OU game? Like
Um,
that's a good thing. The demand is there, the buzz is there, and that's how it was before,
mm-hmm.
right? Like it's crazy when the team is good, like good, how different things are versus just a year or two ago. Easy, it was so easy to get a ticket to go to the game, right? And so I have no worries. I think our crowd has been really, really good the first couple games. I think that's only going to continue, and I think that's a narrative that is going to be slowly put to bed, especially when we get into the SEC and people are like, you know what, Texas fans, that narrative that was there before, especially we're not the best in terms, but we have significantly improved over the last few years in terms of home field advantage, especially when it's not 150 degrees outside and we can actually like breathe. Right, man, we're tough to deal with. So
I don't know. We stuck it out during the Alabama game, and those Alabama dudes said that was the loudest environment they've played in. So,
yeah. Well, you guys let us know in the comments what your thoughts are for this game. We're very excited to see this Texas team take on a very good Kansas team, two undefeated teams. Hopefully, we can leave this thing 5-0 and head into a week of prep against our rival Oklahoma Sooners, who will also be watching as they take on Iowa State. But right now, all business is on number 24 ranked Kansas
mm-hmm.
Jayhawks. Great squad that Coach Lance Leopold has coming in here. Jalen Daniels. These guys had a bunch of ballers on first team all preseason Big 12. They had our attention from the beginning. Okay. And that BYU team that just beat Arkansas, they went and handled their business against BYU, who we'll see later this year as well. So folks, be mindful of who's coming into town. But if Texas can beat Texas, we should have no problem. That's where we stand.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you to Last Stand Hats, laststandhats.com/fanatic, promo code fanatic 10% off at checkout. But y'all hit that like button, subscribe, help this channel out, help a brother out. It's free to show love. Tran, thank you as always. Guys,
Always, brother.
remember, horns always up. Hook 'em.